All right, so let's bring into the conversation then Professor Barry Hanyane to bring us some analysis. Prof. Hanyane, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I was going to start with, the overall tone of the opposition and the debate that has been taking place. But I'm just astounded by what I just heard Minister Begicele saying towards the end there of Lindsay Dentlinger's report, and I'm impelled to actually start there. He says there is no threat to the stability of the country. Elements here and there, are sort of not going the way that they should be. You're talking here about a State of the Nation address where the President acknowledged the overall responsibility that has been placed at the doorstep of his cabinet by this expert panel for the situation and the riots and the deaths, that deadly situation that played itself out in July last year. And here you are being told that there is no threat to the stability of the country.
Yeah, Julius, a very good afternoon to you and your viewers. Look, I think it's all about saving face on the part of our cabinet members. They are quite aware of the fact that they are now under siege in terms of being questioned on all fronts in relation to matters of integrity, of results-driven outcomes. It's no longer business as usual. We can't be talking deployment now when you have unemployment rate that is spiraling. You have issues of a divided cabinet that seems to be not sharing a Commonwealth view on all matters of governance in the country. And that is what the opposition is pointing at, to say, Ramaphosa, you have a cabinet well and done, but a cabinet that's highly divisive in character. And this does not speak to the virtues of social cohesion, the virtues of unity that is needed in protection of our sovereignty. So it is worrisome going forward. And again, questioning by extension the appointments of Osi, Mavuso, Menele to say, is this parallel cabinet perhaps a small parallel cabinet that's designed deliberately to save face so that in the end, those ministers who can't produce will then be shielded. So come 2022, where we are right now, my eyes are on Minister Ngungubele. Will he be the guy who will change things for the president, seeing that he occupies a very important role of monitoring and evaluation, and of course assisting us to tell us which minister is doing his or her work, which minister is absent from office?
So just back now to where I would have wanted to start, your sense of the overall tone, because I suppose in a debate one side has to prevail. Having heard the president speaking on Thursday last week and all of the commitments that he was making, and now having heard a day of what the opposition has had to say, which stands out the most for you? I don't know, is it some of the undertakings that he was making, or are we now forced to actually reckon with this call for a motion of no confidence, which the DA has tabled, or some of what the EFF has had to say about, what basically amounts to ineptitude in government?
True. Look, opposition will always come up with a reactionary response to what has been tabled by the president in his SONA speech. What for me was lacking and stood out, obviously, was this presence of a lackluster attitude towards your timelines, towards your objectives. He's asked for 100 days to prove that certain things can be done. Shouldn't we have shortened that to say about 40 days or so? He's asked for 4 months to respond to the Zonal Commission report until we then see things happening. I'm worried, Sizwe, about the lack of agency in what he proposes. It then feeds into the narrative that indeed he is a president who wants to consult, a president who wants to appease, a president who is not necessarily in tune with the fact that the patience of those that he governs is waning thin. And it's a risk that in a long term he cannot afford to deal with. Although he is a front runner in his own political party in terms of leadership there, that should not give him the comfort to say, let's do things by a particular timetable. I think what is lacking most here is that sense of agency that I would have loved to see in the delivery of this.
Yeah, and the motion of no confidence in terms of Section 102 of the Constitution being tabled by the Democratic Alliance, of course it's allowable in terms of the scheme, the constitutional scheme, a motion of no confidence in the cabinet except the president, in which case the president has to reconstitute the cabinet. From what we know of the numbers in Parliament, it stands no chance of succeeding. I think we can safely say that. But how much of a headache does it give President Ramaphosa in the context in which many have been speaking about a situation where he's sort of seeking to create a super presidency, in that, you know, the presidency went to a small office to now a big place that employs all sorts of experts and various people to beef up this red tape cutter in chief, etc.
Yeah. Well, it also speaks to what Nasrec gave us. So let's not distance ourselves from those outcomes. Because for me, Nasrec is somewhat of a determining platform in terms of who sheds most of the load, who should be more accountable than others. In this instance, I'm afraid the president did not walk away from Nasrec with power. Secondly, he's surrounded by people who should be questioned in terms of their loyalty and ability to share in the vision of the president. He is gradually becoming isolated from what he stands for, from what he needs to see happening in the party and by extension in government. So the headache comes in the sense that no one seems to rise to the occasion and say, my president, your Tumamina speech, Tumamina philosophical position is something that I can heed as a call. I'm here for you. I'm here for the country. That is the problem. And of course, opposition would waste no time but to chew on that bankruptcy and make sure that it is this administration that in the end, in this government, in a sense, that in the end will have to pay for such a deficit.
We all know government doesn't create jobs. Businesses create jobs. And then a few days later, the newsletter comes out as if to expand and expatiate and explain that statement that he made in the State of the Nation address last week. It's caused quite a debate within the opposition ranks. The DA saying, you are reading off our script. How much do these statements hurt him? The statement that he's reading off a DA manifesto and basically took much of what they had suggested and went and presented it, and all he needs to do now is to implement it. And also this argument now in this debate that has ensued that says, hang on, you seem to be ideologically lost in that you are saying that the government doesn't create jobs, it is businesses that create jobs.
Julius, it's because of the pressure that comes from the alliance, right? More so from the Labour front, which always wanted to discourage anything that is linked to neoliberal thinking, much so questioning to what extent can the open market system deliver for the poor. So the understanding here is that some measure of nationalization of state assets, this is where the EFF would come in very strongly, would always receive sympathy. Now, suddenly it's a 360-degree turn. It's no longer government leading the process of creating jobs. We've always known that globally, especially in Western democracies, open market is the way to go. And as you do so, you simply bring in captains of the industry to come and assist government in terms of identifying and creating those positions, but make sure that opportunities in the end are created. So it's a way of saying, look, in the absence of foreign direct investment, turning things around, and the frustration that unemployment numbers are increasing, surely there must be a rebut here. And the best way is to then say, all right, I'm conceding to those who have capital, and those who have capital are in the private sector. Let them create jobs. It's official. It's a position that this administration and government would want to take, so that in a sense, it eases off the pressure, the uneasiness that investors will continue to share, and as an attitude towards this government.
Professor Barry Hanyane, I've got to thank you for your time. I've got to share with you, though, that my own sense reading the newsletter on Monday suggests that after he made that statement that government doesn't create jobs, it is business that creates jobs, there must have been a flurry of conversations that pointed out to him that what you said there is an ideological and a political landmine within the context of our politics. Hence, you saw him centering this whole idea of a developmental state and all the other concepts that the ANC has been committed to for all of these years. I've got to thank you for now. Thank you for sharing your time with us here on eNCA. That's Professor Barry Hanyane there weighing in on the State of the Nation address as well as the debate that is currently underway at City Hall in Cape Town, debating the State of the Nation address.